for some reason, I wanted to say that, whenever I watch interviews online, on TV, like news interviews, the person who's the interviewer always has this thing that they can never say they don't know something when they clearly don't know something. Like if they're talking to like a real high-level academic or a scholar, and they just sort of like wax the floor with them by saying something really profound, and the interview goes, "Oh yeah, totally." Like, no, you don't know what he was talking about. But they can't just say, I'm not sure. Could you clarify or whatnot? It seems that there's like an inability for interviewers to.
Well, there's an ambiance you're trying to convey. There's like an authority or like a sense of like, no, I'm an academic too. Like that's part of the mystique.
Yeah, I'm not an authority figure. I think I try to actively take
Yeah,
down
we
my own
don't do that.
podcast
We
week to
don't.
week.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
Well, speaking of interviews, we have another one today. Today is with the creator, Isaac Shaker, who has created the Setting the Stage podcast, which talks about all things D&D and other topics. He is the host of the Tabletop Community Spotlight Challenge, a YouTube channel, and the blog Go Corral. So, Isaac Shaker, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, that's a lot of different things that I do. Yep.
There's a lot of things that you do.
You're a busy guy.
You're a busy guy. Well, and we're going to break some of them down and talk about them in detail, I hope. But before we begin, let's begin with the oft-asked opening question, which is, well, what brought you into this most amazing of hobbies of RPG? What was your first game that you really kind of fell in love with? And what made you decide to start creating content in this area?
Yeah. Well, I use that as my intro question too on my podcast.
It's a catch-all, isn't it? It's great.
Good.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's a good one.
It works. Yeah.
It's food.
Yeah, I got into D&D when I was 9 years old. My dad and one of my friends' dads wanted to. I don't know why they wanted to play again, but they both played in college. And they were like, "Yeah, we want to play D&D with our kids." So then we started playing with them. We initially started with second edition, and then moved to third edition almost immediately because it came out right around then. I remember that's when the player's handbook came out first, and I had a little section for the Dungeon Master's Guide and Monster Manual at the back because those books weren't out yet.
Little sampler.
I don't have that book anymore.
Thaco.
This was after Thaco. That's why we switched.
Yep,
because Thaco is confusing.
Too easy, Thaco.
Yeah, Thaco's very confusing.
Yeah. And what game did I fall in love? I've done D&D for most of what I've been doing. It's only recently that I've moved away from it because I haven't found 5th edition to be very interesting, I guess. 3rd edition, I did so many different things. It's this immense toolbox for building different things within 3rd edition. 4th edition didn't have as much of that, but it was so many. There was tons of toys. You couldn't really put them together very well in the way that 3rd edition, you can take this piece and that piece and build something. 4th edition is mostly here's your toy, and it is this toy.
This is the toy you get that's in the box. It's classically kind of referred to as the World of Warcraft of D&D, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. It's because they introduced that cooldown thing of encounter powers and daily powers. Not that 5th edition doesn't also have that with this recharges on a short rest and this on a long rest. It's the same thing. But it's not as explicit for how often you get them.
Yeah, 5th edition did a good job of helping to sort of maybe revitalize a little bit of interest in the brand, I think, and kind of onboard a lot of people to D&D, like Catan did with board gaming back some 20 plus years ago. But
yeah,
now
absolutely.
It's just gotten cluttered and all the Hasbro stuff, just poke it with a stick from a very far distance at this point.
Do something.
So you were a second E guy, and were you primarily a player or GM? Which did you gravitate to?
I mean, I started off as a player. My friend's dad ran a campaign for us, and then my dad ran a campaign for us, or half a campaign. We ended up getting sort of graduating at that point, as he put it, where he didn't want to be our DM anymore because we could manage it on our own.
Why is that by any chance? Is there...
We were 11 or 12 at that point. Yeah. It's just he didn't he loves us, but he didn't want to spend every Saturday for 6 hours or whatever, however long our sessions then, babysitting a bunch of tweens. He wanted us we could do it ourselves, so go do it yourselves.
He had to go out bowling with the Teamsters or something like that.
He loves carpentry work, so that's what he was doing. He was going and building things. But Yeah, so I became my group's main DM at that point, and I'm not the only DM. Like we'll switch off, but usually it's like I'll DM a campaign, and then someone else will do one, and then I'll do one again, and then a different person will do one. So like
Mhm.
about half the time I'm the DM for my group.
So that's an interesting dynamic, though, because usually a group will have that one DM who sticks with it. Not so much because somebody else maybe doesn't want to, but I I find it hard for DMs to go back to being a player with their players. Like maybe in
Mhm.
other groups it's fine, but with the players swapping around, how does that work?
I'm not as good a player as they are. I think is a flaw for me. Like I get bored easily. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of different DMs in my podcast, and some of them experience the same thing, where they will get bored as players and start
Mm-hmm.
just like starting things as
Get causing trouble.
yeah, causing trouble.
I'm in that camp as well, man. Yeah, I do the same thing. I just like,
Yeah, the instigator player motivation type.
yeah.
So I'll do that. I'll do like crazy goblin stuff, just because it's more fun than waiting for something to develop. If someone else has the spotlight, I mean, I'll respect it, but I don't really care as much about their story from like my character's perspective necessarily.
Oh
And
no.
maybe I need to start playing characters that are interested. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
real answer. The reason we do that way is that a lot of us have different stories that we want to tell as game masters within my group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair for me to just say, no, we're doing it my way. We're all friends. We all have like, we rules for how it has to be fair. So usually what happens when we finish a campaign is we'll just like vote on which one is next from a bunch of ideas. Usually it just ends up, it's not like some official thing where we do one of someone else and then back to me. It's just that's how it has worked out so far.
Kind of
It's
like a
like,
pitch fest.
Mhm.
yeah, Pitch
Yep.
Fest, or like, you've been watching horror movies all week, and now you kind of want to go to the comedy or shift genres or
No, go
something.
full into horror. Go full into it. You're
Yeah,
ready there.
the immersion tank. I wish Chris was here for this one. Unfortunately, the three RPG has an extended workday today, so he
Mm.
may pop on a little bit later. But one of the things that we tried that spectacularly failed was tried doing the rotating DMs with the same story.
Mm.
So we would just end on a cliffhanger, and then the next thing would pick it up where it left off. But that just collapsed because we didn't. It basically became what the Star Wars 7, 8, 9 were, where the next
Oh, I
character would
see.
come in and just
No
totally change
continuity.
the idea. No continuity. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like I wanted to do this with the villain, and I was setting up these seeds, and the other person would be like, "I just killed them off." So unfortunately, maybe if we did it again, we'd have to set some rules, or this is where we're aiming toward. We're trying to get there.
You
But
need
the
a lore
rotating DM.
Bible, at least in the very
Well,
least.
there is a system that might work for that called Yeld, but that's
Mm,
because it really provides a strong structure for the campaign in general,
Mm.
and then each individual adventure is more up to the GM,
right.
and it encourages rotating as well.
And like a monster of the week type of situation. So they have their little home base and they're going off on the adventures, but then there's an overarching thing that's happening around it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
presumably that's what you do with your group, or do you kind of finish out a story that gets to an end point and then say, okay, that's that for that one, and then let's make up new characters in a whole new world, whole new setting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say we're always making up new characters necessarily.
Ah.
So we have had a campaign world that we've been playing in for a couple of my different campaigns. I think we've done 4 in that campaign world so far.
Hmm.
And there's been like characters that move from the first one to the second one, second to the third, and then the third to the fourth one. Um,
Wait, your
so
players
they're
get to live? Jay, his players get to live.
You guys live. You live.
well,
Not
not all
long.
of them.
Not-
Um,
so and this is in a homebrew world. This is not Eberron or anything like that, right?
yeah, this is
Faerun.
the Samaria world that was the one that's on my blog that I publish something like once a week.
You want to tell listeners about that? Maybe sort of kind of whet their whistle about it, get them
Right.
curious
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. So the campaign world that I've been playing in since when I was 14 or 15, so like 20 years now, is one that I developed out of a dissatisfaction with the gods for the standard third edition rules. that use the Greyhawk gods. And Faerun has the same problem, honestly, where the gods in D&D don't have a lot of connections to each other. They're all kind of like a separate thing with their own separate clergy, and they kind of care about what the other ones are doing based off of like their interests, but they don't have any. The gods don't have any like family connections the way that gods do in real mythology. Like
it's like office politics. I've heard it referred to.
Greek mythology, yeah.
Yeah. Hera is mad at Zeus because he's always cheating on her, and
stop eating my children.
yeah, and
such a problem
for Kronos doing that, and Hephaestus has a limp, and all the other gods laugh at him because they're awful and don't respect disabilities. But anyways, I like the Greek gods a lot. I'd read a whole bunch about them, so I built a initial structure around like, let's have the Greek gods be the focus because that pantheon and mythology actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That also led to, okay, there's all these myths that take place in Greece and around the Aegean Sea. So I kind of have to set my campaign in the real world. And the real world, I didn't want to be restricted by geography or anything like real for history. So I chose a quasi-fantastic region within what the Greeks thought of for the world, which was around the north of the Caspian Sea. They didn't really know who lived there, so they kind of just made it up. And I changed the geography to make sense with what I wanted it to be, and just kind of made it up. And yeah, now I've got a whole campaign world that's like got all kinds of stuff in that region.
Is the level of tech the same as, say, ancient Greece, or are there like light ships and trains and projectile weapons and things like that that use gunpowder? Or
it's 400 BC, so it's not that far, but it is more than what 400 BC should be. I don't know if you've seen like these things about like, oh, plate armor is ahistorical. It didn't exist until the late medieval period, or that kind of thing that I've seen on Reddit. I have plate armor. I have like metal shields, all sorts of like metalworking that wouldn't have existed during that period, that was developed later on.
So this is what establishes it as a fantasy world rather than just a historical, historical fiction reenactment or something, right?
Yeah. The tech level is more like late medieval period, not classical period.
I do have a hot take about Greek mythology. It just came up to my mind. I bet there were some kind of Greek peasants at the time when, like people watching the TV show Lost, like by season 2, people were like, are they just making this shit up as they go along? they were all for all the gods of season 1, but then when they introduced like a new god, they're kind of like, I don't know about this one.
It's absolutely so some of Plato made up some myths that have passed down, and from my perspective, they're clearly thought exercises. He wasn't like saying this is what's real and what the gods have decreed and it's in what the priest said. Yeah. It's something he made up as a thought exercise. But other people say that they're actual myths. And I mean, there's different versions of all the myths. Like, who is Aphrodite's father is an example. So in some cases it's Zeus, in some cases it's Kronos, in some cases it's Uranos. And part of this is because the idea that there's a single Greek mythology isn't true. Like, each of the different towns and villages around the Aegean had sort of a shared like outline, kind of, but the specifics were not defined within that. And
the ocean is scary, and there's someone down there doing some stuff.
Yeah.
What he does in the day-to-day is going to be changed based on if you're a coastal city or you're not.
Or even the names for these people. Like, they would have like a secondary name that would change based on where you are, because that's what they called like the goddess of the hunt or something for Artemis. And then that would get lumped together in whoever was collecting these names.
To bring up Plato, I believe there is something of a philosophical question to like when he, famously scathes art because of its like false prophet nature by being kind of representational rather than being the thing in itself. But then he's sort of doing that via his writing, by framing everything via a story. But anyway, that's a whole nother can of worms that we could get into. Meta. Yeah. Well, so why don't we get into your pod then? Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Like who have you had on your show? What do you generally talk about? Maybe introduce the pod to listeners who may not know that you exist.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Setting the Stage: Campaigns for D&D and Other RPGs, and or just Setting the Stage for short, or STS for really short. The purpose of the podcast is to it sort of has two different versions of the show, which I've done mostly one of. The mostly one is interviewing different people about their campaign settings and trying to get a more behind the scenes look at it. One of the reasons for that,
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
well, it's because when you're a player playing through a world, you experience what your character experiences, which isn't necessarily the whole picture. And players also sometimes, have their own goals for what they want to do. Like a classic, like I want to collect treasure and kill monsters. I don't care about the mayor and his relationship with his wife or something like that.
Right.
Or king, scale it up to whatever you're dealing with. So I wanted to have a place for game masters to present those sort of missed details that their players are ignoring or skipping, either because they care about something or also just because like the story didn't go in that direction. So we didn't get to learn about the king of the desert because they never went to the desert.
Well, I think you alluded to what you do for your campaign in the previous discussion we just had about your world. So like, why did you choose to do this? Why did you choose to make the gods this way? And there you go. There's a little hint of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a why question doesn't usually come up in play because the players sometimes don't even want to look behind the curtain in that way. Like you said, they want to preserve the illusion.
Right.
So I wanted to give a platform for people to be able to show off that part of their work. So I'll interview someone and talk about like their campaign and try and get to those cool things. The second type of episode I have on that show that I've only had like one or two so far, I'm trying to get to more, is where I'll look at a more established campaign setting and look at how, or not necessarily campaign setting, just fictional setting, and see how it can be used for RPG campaigns. And that one's intended to be more like helpful for like if you want to run a campaign in Star Wars.
Right. How to port it over from an established IP.
Yeah, or what system is best, and what stories can you tell in Star Wars that would be interesting? Like you could tell a story about farming in Star Wars, right? There are farms. People live on the farms. It's just, why would you choose to do that is a good question. It's not a good setting for that because then the whole Star Wars element isn't relevant.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, "Oh no, I could totally write that. I could figure that out." Yeah.
Well, unless that farm setting then gets overrun by Imperial soldiers, and now you've got like a revenge story.
Or you could have an alternate reality because Obi-Wan was supposed to like not become a Jedi Knight. He was supposed to stay as like a farm worker, but then like Qui-Gon Jinn said, "Oh, he's the right guy," and chose him in all the extended material that I don't know if it's canon anymore or not.
Yeah, you want to stay. I guess in my opinion, you want to stay closer to Andor and stay away from like the green milk or whatever. Or was it blue milk?
Blue milk. Yeah.
Was it the blue milk from? Yeah. Anyway. Oh boy. So and this is how we ended up getting in contact because you had a guest on your pod, Seiya Kubota, who was also a guest on our pod, and he mentioned that he was on yours, and I was like, oh, let me get in contact, and like, can I? And he said, yeah, sure, and there we have it, and here we are.
Yeah. He was a great guest. I loved learning about Synesthesia Synthetica, and it's a cool game.
It's really cool. Yeah. And does your pod come out weekly, or what's the release schedule, and when can people kind of find this and where?
Every 2 weeks, on Wednesday mornings for the Pacific at 9 a.m. That's when the episode theoretically comes out. I think through the way that it propagates through the internet, 10 a.m. is probably a more reliable time to download if you really want to get it as soon as possible.
First.
Right, yeah. Every 2 weeks, and it should be on pretty much every podcast app. It's on YouTube, although I don't do videos, so it's just listening. And I also have a website, the gocorral.com/STS would be where you could find it. And there's also a form there for people to fill out if they want to be a guest.
Link down in the show notes.
One thing that really stuck out to me is since you interview a lot of GMs, I'm just wondering if there's like you get a sense that there's a certain system type that's just easier for GMs to either run, or if they're new to GM, which is like a huge anxiety thing, is managing the system and then managing the story. Like if you could say one system, 100%, this is what I would recommend a new GM play, what would it be?
I think honestly, D&D is still the correct answer, not necessarily because it's the most simple system to learn, but because there's so much scaffolding for learning it.
Mm-hmm.
The rulebook has been iterated on many times, so that it's not just that it's like 5.5 edition, right, where they've rewritten the rules 10 times to get to that point, but that also they've had all these like smaller books along the way where they've practiced how to write the rules in a way that people will understand them as they're being written.
Yep.
So it's the most refined system in existence just because of how much rewriting has gone into it in that regard. There's a culture of people that can help you learn it. If I want to learn GURPS, I can't necessarily go to a store and learn how to play it by playing with some people there. No one will necessarily want to teach me how to play GURPS.
Yeah. You may find the occasional GM on Roll20 or something like that, but yeah, you'll find a queue of GMs waiting for players in 5e, easy peasy.
Yeah.
True.
I'd say 5th edition is also quite simple because you don't have to deal with a bunch of different bonuses to things. It's just 2 bonuses for the most part. You've got proficiency and ability bonus, and that's it. So that part is quite simple. They have a very formulaic way that they present things in the rules that make it easy. There's a big community that can teach you. And I think also 5th edition has encouraged, I think kind of to the detriment from my perspective, but it's probably better for people that are new, that they don't answer a lot of questions. And it's not really the type of system that I think benefits from that, but it's advantageous for newbies because then they can't experience oh, I did that wrong, I have to correct it, because oftentimes those edge cases don't actually have rules.
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
Though you will have a player at the table who has read every single 5e book back cover to cover and will say, well actually. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Not stuff like, oh, where's the rule for how to swim, but what is the difficulty for opening a shopkeep's lock?
Yeah.
Right. In previous editions, there was an answer. You could look it up in the book. Mm-hmm. In 5th edition, I don't know. Is it 10? Is it 15? Is it 20?
Oh, again, another opportunity where Chris would be really jumping on this because he has his table for his world where everything is kind of predetermined like that. And he looks at, I'm a very different type of GM. I'm like, I'll come up with it in the moment. If it seems like the player's itching for a pass, I'll skew towards easy. If it seems like it's a more difficult challenge, I'll skew towards hard rather than trying to find the fast and the hard number for what it is. I kind of just go a little bit more. That's why I find it fun to be a GM, because then I get to improv a little bit in that regard rather than finding the number. I wonder if you're a little bit different in that regard. We could explore that a little bit, perhaps.
Let me put it this way. I feel like D&D is a system that seems to encourage a style where there is an answer for a problem. It's a more prescriptive system where you should be able to find an answer within a mechanic. It's not a very improvisational system as presented. Like, I want, as a paladin, like, you have your spells and your smite, and that's what you can do.
Okay, this is how far a spell can reach, or something.
Yeah, you can't. So there's an example like can I use my channel divinity to close the portal to hell? No, you can't do that unless the DM says you can. So it seems to be more prescriptive, like this is what the ability does, compared to something like Powered by the Apocalypse systems or Blades in the Dark, where the abilities kind of, they don't, I mean, they have a theme to them, but they don't have an explicit effect on the universe.
Right.
So you kind of game that out. And other editions of D&D were more prescriptive, but 5th edition has kind of leaned into not being prescriptive, but still seeming that way based off of how combat works. And other systems aren't.
Yeah, this seems to be like we don't want to really just dissect D&D here, but it seems to be what I think the uh, the sort of dyslexia, I guess, that D&D kind of has in a way. It kind of wants to be two things at the same time, whereas certain things like Fate Core, like this is more designed to be kind of a drama game, or a drama
Yeah.
system is not meant to be minis on a map to begin, whereas D&D is works for a minis on a map game. It does also kind of work for kind of theater of the mind, but it sort of kind of wants to be good at both, and I find that that's what makes it starts to fall down for both.
But you're damned if you do, damned if you don't when you're the leader in the industry, because people are going to be used to how you function and they're going to want it to function that way. But you want to be new and be like keep your market edge, and you can only do it in increments, right? You gotta like boiled frog your way to new things. So I feel bad for them being a bit hamstrung in that way for their devs.
Did a D&D drama system, would it work? I don't know.
It would. It just...
I mean, that's kind of what Daggerheart is. That's what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So having spoken to so many GMs and game creators about their worlds, was there a world that was like really stand out, that was like so unique and kind of like, ooh, wow, that kind of broke your brain, and you want to like kind of yoink a little things, or even use that world to play a game with your players?
I don't think I have a single answer, just because there's been a lot of really good ones. Like, I don't think there's one that I've been like, I want to do that, but there's been some really cool ideas that I've found over the years. Like, one of the first ones was a guy who was running a campaign that was based on a megastructure. This was an Alderson disc, so it's like a CD that's built around a sun. And the way that day and night work is that the sun oscillates up and down in the hole in the center of the disc. And you're on the surface of the disc. So when the sun pops up in the middle, that's it coming up. Then it goes back down. The disc is massive enough that gravity is local just downwards on the disc. But obviously, as you get closer, it'll start going towards the sun. So you can't live on the inside of the disc, because then you'd fall towards the sun.
I'm imagining the what was that, the Greek device that they found in the bottom of the ocean that people said was like proof of aliens, that was like one of the first computers.
The Antikythera.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Antikythera device. It's almost like it's a D&D world that's living on that or something. It's like all these kind of moving plates and charts and whatnot. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that one was cool. There was a guy that was doing Pokemon using some like hack together D&D rules that was pretty cool. There was one that was like an alternate version of the Revolutionary War. There was I'm still hanging out with this guy a lot, that was doing a Weird West version. So it was like a Cthulhian apocalypse had wiped out the American West, and then people were living in the remnants.
Yes.
I particularly love when Old West systems use poker chips and playing cards as their conflict resolution mechanics as well, because that's just one of those situations where the real world game and then the theme just mesh so well, and it's just chef's kiss.
I think Aces and Eights does that. Yeah,
it's just like, oh, it's such a good idea. It seems so simple on the servers, but like, why did we have to wait so long for that? Who knows? Yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah. I think the one that I want to run most myself would be Pendragon. I'd interviewed someone about the Pendragon system. The reason I didn't mention that before is that's not exactly someone's like original idea where they built something, right? It's him presenting someone else's ideas, and he's got a great spin on it, and has like identified, oh, here's something where the rules don't quite work, or here's like this broken thing you can do in the rules, so you should tell people not to do that or embrace it. So that was cool, and I'd probably use some of his house rules. I do want to eventually run Pendragon, so I don't want to say if, I want to say when I run it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Tabletop Community Spotlight Challenge. Could you tell us a little bit more about that in detail? What is it for? What are your design goals, et cetera, et cetera?
Right. So the guy that made the Weird West one with the Cthulhian apocalypse, His name is Peter, and he runs a YouTube channel called Tales from Elsewhere, where he was the original host of the Tabletop Community Spotlight. So he was the one who originally hosted that, and he had his Kickstarter for his game and got too busy with that, so he had to drop it. He had been doing it with another person who also kickstarted their game and had to drop it. And a lot of people in his community liked it, and I was one of them. So I joined a group of volunteers to try and revive it. And once it got down to actually doing the work to revive it, I was the one who actually did the work.
Like every group project ever.
Yeah. I think what you were just saying there really hits home hard with Sandra right now, who's looking to fulfill our current Kickstarter right now.
Chaos everywhere out of camera.
Yeah, at the expense of every other project. This is like waiting. This is like, hello, did you forget about us?
Yeah. I think most of it was that I was the one who knew how to do video streaming,
Right.
which meant that I was the one that was handling all of that. And if I'm handling everything on my end for the programming, it's actually kind of difficult for other people to hop in remotely.
Yeah.
Like if they're in my house, then they can, but that isn't realistic.
But then you'd call the cops. Get out.
You're like, I'll just do it. Give me that. You're like, give me that. It's like watching somebody like cook food in the wrong way. You're like, just give me that. I'll do it.
Right.
I'll do it.
So I do host it with someone else named Daniel, who is also working on a system. And I've also interviewed him for my podcast, but his episode hasn't come out yet as of when we're recording this.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
If you happen to listen to this episode, hit that like and subscribe button.
You shill.
I'm shilling. I'm sorry.
Do it, man. So me and Daniel are the main people. There are still other people that help out how they can, but just with the way that it works, like we do most of the work. I'm doing the video stuff, and then Daniel is helping me with the actual like hosting, where we talk about what the challenge is. For what it is, at the beginning of a quarter, or we have a quarterly cycle. So at the beginning of a quarterly cycle, we'll say, here's the theme. And the one that's coming up as of recording is shields and cover. So then people will have 3 months to write something about shields and cover for RPGs, or make a video. And it has to be something short so we can get through a bunch of them in a stream. So they'll design the shield of Achilles, for example. And here's how it would be represented in D&D 5th edition. So here's this cool shield that Hephaestus made for Achilles, and it does X, Y, and Z, and it's it's a +3 shield of adamantine or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter, right? And then
the flip-flops of Achilles.
We'll get all those like different entries. We'll read them, or just hit play on the video if someone did a video, and then we'll do like a quick little breakdown that's supposed to be positive criticism. We don't want someone to submit something and then we say, this is not ready, you should have done X, Y, and Z, and you misspelled this word. That just makes people feel bad, right? Yeah. We want to be positive and constructive and kind of like, well, I'm curious about how this would work more than this is missing. Like, it's, and parts of it is just like, if someone's submitting something for their own system that they're designing, or a system that we're not familiar with, inevitably we will be missing pieces in our understanding of it. And it's just the way it is. So me and Daniel will trade off on reading something and then discussing it. Then we announce the next theme, and that's it. Yeah.
Sounds very cool. And are you like always open for like recruiting with your I guess you have a window for please submit your video idea to channel before then. That's all part of on the blog, I suppose. So if a listener wants to sort of have an idea that wants to submit to yours for you to talk about it, how would they do that? Yeah.
The best way to submit is through our Discord servers. So for the Setting the Stage accepts it, and then the Tales from Elsewhere Discord server, where it originally started with Peter when he was doing it, also has a Discord channel within that server for accepting entries. That's the best way.
Link in the show notes.
Yeah. And the Shields and Cover one is probably it'll be too late by the time this episode comes out, but the next one, hopefully it won't be too late, is XP and progression systems. Like in D&D, you kill a monster and you get XP, and that's how you level up. In another system, like Blades in the Dark, it's like you have to struggle with your vice is a way that you can get XP. So that would be the next theme.
This isn't so much of a question, but like it's really amazing that you have this avenue to get feedback, because I don't think there's enough mentorships, apprenticeships, internships, any of that in the industry. As much as people are really giving with their time and really open to helping new talent come up, it's just everybody's frantic right now. So I just want to.
Everyone's an island.
Yeah, because like I'm a mentor through Unpub and sci-fi fantasy writers, and it's just there's so many people who want mentors, and there's not enough mentors to go around. So having this opportunity to give more feedback to up and coming artists is just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd classify myself as a mentor in that regard, because I'm not really published or anything like that, but
it's feedback,
peership,
and feedback
yeah.
is so valuable, because if it appeals to you, that is valuable feedback. So no, any kind of critique, whatnot, it's generous.
Yeah, and anyone that wants to take the time to like look into a system or a subject in depth and say how it might work and how it might need for improvement is it's
beta
great
testing,
feedback
and all of that.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, interested in any things that Isaac has set up to this point, can follow that link down in the show notes to go and then explore what this dude's creating. Get out there, support indie content creators, right? So Isaac, as we're nearing to our close here, we always have a sort of similar ending that while the questions will change, the format is very similar. So we will start with a group of questions. We'll then go to a rapid answer section, and then we'll end with something like an inside the actor studio kind of deep dive into who you are, what are your nightmares, like you ever dream of your mom in a bra or whatever.
Okay.
God. We're gonna need Freud to fix that one.
I'm sorry. Okay, maybe that's just me. Okay.
Where'd we put that shovel before?
Yeah. No, he's got a closet full of them. He goes through them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So just beginning with having navigated the labyrinthine conversation as you near its exit, ahead of you you see a beam of sunlight slicing through the darkness. It signals an exit. Alas, even the most eventful and exciting adventures must come to an end. But before yours does, you hear three ancient voices, more ancient by the day, I'm not 50 yet, asks you questions before you depart. The first begins asking you questions. What do you think is your favorite unique or standard mechanic in an RPG game?
I really like the honor system from Hackmaster. And the honor system it's a separate reward system outside of experience points, where you get more honor for playing your character, your race, your class, and your alignment. And based on how well you do that, those 4 different grading rubrics, you get more honor points, which give you static points, static bonuses, and you can also spend them to re-roll dice or something like that. And a lot of the way that you play your character is based around trying to get honor points, because that gives you bonuses. And that ends up reinforcing, like, an assassin character would kill someone here instead of knocking them out. A paladin would knock them out instead of kill them. That kind of thing.
Do you have a favorite character type, class, or monster in any system?
Rogue. Always rogue. Yeah. I don't have the patience for spells, but I still like being able to do a lot of things, and rogues end up being able to do a lot of things. And they're not as useful in combat.
Would you say a bard is a type of rogue?
Yeah. A warlock is also a type of rogue, honestly, and a ranger and a monk. Yep, they're all quasi-rogue classes.
So TRPG gamers, like writers, create epic worlds full of unique senses and experiences. Within our own world, there's plenty to marvel at and to avoid with disgust. So with each of the subjects that I give you, please give us either the thing that you love most and the thing that you despise most, or both. It's up to you.
Okay.
So food and beverage.
I like pot pie for food, and for beverage, water, honestly.
Sounds, noises, and smells.
Sounds, I like In the End by Linkin Park. So that's a sound. A noise that I like. Like the little door jams that are made out of springs that go twang when you hit them. Yeah, that's a wonderful noise. And smells. I don't smell things very well. I guess I don't like the smell of poop.
Who does?
That means you are working right.
A word or curse word.
Justice is a nice word.
All right. Well, so now let's go to the rapid fire, where we're just going to give you two things, and you just choose the one that jumps out in your mind, whether for the thing that you like the most or you prefer the most. It doesn't matter your reasoning. It's just the first thing that comes to mind, such
Snap
as
judgment.
Yeah, snap judgment. Unicorns or narwhals.
Unicorns.
Toilet paper, under or over?
Over.
Yeah.
Marvel or DC.
Marvel.
Neighbor with bagpipes or kid learning the recorder?
Bagpipes.
No, that threw me off. I was so thinking about my own question, Sandra, that like when you asked yours, I was like, wait, what was mine again? I totally forgot it now. Oh man. Iced tea, sweetened or unsweetened?
Unsweetened.
Free 1 week shipping or paid overnight?
Free 1 week.
Oh man, very cool. So Isaac, before the end, what turns you on creatively? Note the creatively at the end of that sentence.
Yeah.
Woo!
Wait till the end. I'm not finished.
I guess driving is a good way to like get more creative for myself. Like I'll think about what I want to tell for a story while I'm driving, and then once I'm parked, take notes in my phone. I got a little bunch of different note apps for different things.
We thank you for stopping for the note taking. Not everyone does.
Not everyone does. Yeah. How do you handle writer's block? Perhaps it's the same answer. Perhaps
no. I have a better answer for that actually. Writer's block, usually you need to get started to get past it. So there's different methods. Like one that my dad taught me that can work decently well when you're trying to explain something that's difficult is to start writing a letter to your grandma. So, dear grandma, I am writing a letter to you to explain how nuclear fusion works. There are two particles, and then you keep going from there. And then once you're done, you erase the first two sentences.
Yeah. Remove grandma.
Yeah. Now it's a easy explanation that someone that is an adult but has no expertise in the field can understand. And maybe you didn't know how to get started, but you write the letter to your grandma. You know how to start a letter to your grandma. You write, dear grandma, and then you write what you're going to tell her in the letter. Like you know how to do that.
Can't believe we called the cops on you again.
Maybe it's not your grandma, but you get the idea.
Her gravestone is covered with unread letters by this point.
And you can do the same thing in other areas where, like, I need to write a paragraph about the character in my story feeling regret about their dad dying. So your first sentence can be, I'm really frustrated that I have to write this. It's so hard, but I need to do it. And the character is also frustrated because and it goes from there.
Creating an audience.
So, yeah. Writer's block is usually people feeling like they can't start, and you just need to start, but with something else.
It's also a good reason why people have physical journals is this exact technique. So, having the physical media over your typing will also trigger it.
maybe imposter syndrome in some level too. Is
Oh, for
cause
sure.
So Isaac, what's a piece of art, music, or otherwise that made you feel something deep and profound?
I think there's a lot of good choices there. And this is maybe do you want an uplifting one or a downer answer here? I don't know.
Oh, either way, either way.
All right. I'll go with downer
where
then.
you want to go?
I think the best movie I've ever watched is The Schindler's List, because it really drives home how horrible the Holocaust was. Especially with the Kristallnacht, where Schindler is looking for the little girl with the red coat,
above, the red coat, yeah,
and then
yeah,
finds the coat later because she's died. Coming back from the intermission to see like the graves being dug up and all of their belongings like dumped in a pile, and like they're taking out like the gold fillings and that kind of stuff. It's all like, it's so gross.
yeah.
Like that, and they don't really like. There's other filmmakers that would have made different choices with that for like how
Yeah.
to represent it, like just visually. Like it just shows nude, emaciated people in a lot of the scenes, and that's. I mean, they probably would have looked worse, honestly, but it still looks really terrible.
It's got a very clinical approach to it, but at the same time, it invites this empathy and like, but by looking at things from like a historical point, and like you're doing a lot of observing through the main character who is doing a lot of observing, and then at the end too, like if you're not in hysterics by the end, I think they classically were giving out boxes of tissues at the premiere, because how do you not just get overwhelmed, especially that ending sequence with the I could have saved one more, right? Scene.
Yeah. Well, and the scene after that where it's a memorial to him, where they all bring stones, and the last
the
one
actors are with the actual person or a loved one. Yeah, it's just incredibly moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, how do we continue on from that? So
well, I've got a way to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of the reason I like that movie a lot is that I also have a soft spot for media pieces where one of the main characters is named Isaac. So Schindler's assistant Itzhak Stern is named Isaac, and I also like other things named Isaac. There's 2 video game franchises that I really like. The Golden Sun.
Binding of Isaac?
No, not that actually.
Wrong.
I should play that. No, but the Golden Sun series that came out like in the 2000s, that was really fun. And Dead Space.
Dead Space, the main character's name is Isaac, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that one is so good for me because like there's this in the first and the second one where he's like psychotic and he's walking through and he can hear people whispering to him, Isaac.
Wait, is that close to home?
To have that be your actual name that like the video game is whispering to you.
Oh, play that in a dark room. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love that game so much.
That is fun. That is a great answer.
Well, there we go. You've heard it here first. Here, a transition from Schindler's List to video games. Everybody, what is a common belief or rule then that you completely disagree with?
Society rule that I think is unnecessary. When someone says, "How are you doing?" it is a method of saying hello, and an appropriate response is "Hi, good morning" back to them. You don't have to answer, "I'm fine, how are you?" It's not what that statement is. It's a way of saying hello.
Yes.
Emphatic responses, yes. So as they have appeared, the voices like smoke soon disappear, and in a wink, the time draws nigh. You approach the exit. You see it just in the distance, and yet you turn back towards the darkness, and a voice echoes, and it says, "Isaac, if God exists, what would you want them to say when you inevitably meet?"
You did a good job. Here you get to go again.
And so you turn around and you exit the pod to see the vast world stretching out before you. And I always and he gets pulled back down. But we always end with the same question, which is one of the most simple and yet often used questions in RPG, which is, what do you do?
with God pulling me back into my previous life.
No. Oh yeah, yes, sure.
I don't know. What can you do? I go with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Isaac Shaker, thank you so much for being a part of the 3RPG podcast. It was wonderful to talk about you, and thank you for meeting us with us so late in your evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris ending. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Thanks, guys.
The 3RPG podcast is produced and performed by Sandra Rosner, Chris Takasaki, and Jay Underwood. Music and audio editing, mix, and master is done by Jay Underwood, art by Chris Takasaki. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have any questions, please email us at 3rpgpodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to support the 3RPG podcast, please visit our Patreon or visit our website at www.3rpg.com. That is THREERPG.com.